We are live. Good evening,
Good
and
evening.
welcome to another episode of Relationship Flow Sip and Chat. You got your crew in the house. Doc, Darrell, and Miss Ruth is with us,
Woo-hoo!
riding like the rider she
Yeah.
is. That's supporting
Yay!
us. Yes. So we're just gonna do a little check-in. Darrell, how was your week?
Again, fast. We're back here already again. But it was a good week. Nothing to complain about. Good week.
How was your week, Neil?
It was good. Thanks again for asking. Nothing like Darrell
Well,
out of
we
the
have to ask.
ordinary. Darrell, you had your turn. Nothing out of the ordinary, thank goodness. So good week. Fast week, I agree. They go quicker and quicker. I don't know.
Yes, yes, I
But
agree.
very good. How about you, Doc?
My week was okay. I'm recovering from food poisoning that I got over the weekend last weekend. Still trying to recover. I'm
Oh
like, it's
no.
always something.
Always.
Every week is something. But my we had we got wings last Friday from Wingstop, and myself, Erica, and the baby all got sick. And
Everybody.
then everybody got sick. I mean, everybody got sick. The only one that didn't get sick was my husband, and that's because he didn't eat when we did. He ate later in the evening, and he had to put his wings in the air fryer. So whatever
Interesting.
bacteria was in there, he probably killed it in the air
Lucky for
fryer.
him and bad
Lucky
for
him,
you all.
right?
I don't know if it works that way, but
No,
I
it
don't
does.
know.
It does.
Okay, see that. Listen to the
They say
teacher.
it does.
I don't know if it works that way.
Okay, all right. Well, I've heard it does. I could be wrong. Haven't tested it myself.
That's just my theory. I have no idea if it's correct or not.
I like that.
But
Right.
he was the only one that didn't get sick, and he ate the wings. He
Interesting, right?
ate them.
So maybe it wasn't the wings.
But that was the only thing I'd eaten all day. That was the only
You
thing
know,
Erica had eaten all day.
well, we do know viruses are airborne as well.
Here
Dr.
we
Darrell.
yes,
Dr.
here we
Darrell.
go.
Ooh, Dr. Darrell, Dr. Darrell.
So we just all caught that stomach bug from the air.
That's terrible. You should keep your mask on while you're eating next time.
right.
Right.
Eat under your mask.
Yes, we all caught that same air bug. That had us messed up
That
for a
does
few
not
days.
present anyway.
That's funny.
But I am feeling better now, just
Good.
tired from all you know what happens when you get sick. All the activity. I'm tired.
It drains you out, literally.
Yes. Literally.
Glad you're better.
Thank you. Oh man. So tonight we are talking about fighting fair. We are doing a part 2 because there was so much activity last week. And there were some points that came up that we thought we should probably elaborate on and dig into a little deeper. So, guys, where you guys want to start?
Start at the beginning.
Start at the top.
But I think where we kind of ended off, we were talking about I guess some I guess types of fighting maybe or some of the fallouts from fighting. Like I think we were talking about where the fighting becomes I forget.
It's okay. You're on your way with it. I remember that. And that toxic and that we get petty. We were talking about where the pettiness comes in after the fighting. And
that's what we were talking about.
And if it happens, how does it look? Yeah.
Right. When that fight lingers and you have some resentment from maybe not getting your way or whatever the case may be. So now you're like, they ain't getting none.
Including food.
Listen, I can go get food anywhere, but I ain't getting none. We wasn't talking about food.
I was talking about food.
Wawa's open 24/7. We're good. Food, I'm good with. Other thing, I can't get none. That'd be the problem.
So pettiness, right?
Pettiness.
Very petty. Withholding. That can, again, that keeps the argument going.
Of course.
That if the other person was kind of like, you know what, okay, let's get over it. But now you're withholding. Now you're striking up something else. Some other feelings that will come about due to that, to that pettiness, where you're now withholding, whether it's food or whatever the case may be. Now you have another argument that you're starting. And some feelings that may be.
Is it ever okay?
Is it okay?
To be petty?
Is it ever okay? Yeah, to be petty.
Is it ever okay? I mean, you can do what you want to do. It's never okay. You can do it. It's not healthy. I
think it's okay on some levels, just a little bit.
I bet you would.
I mean, just a tad. I don't mean a lot. A tad.
What? Pay attention. Pay attention, fellas. Pay attention.
No, Darrell, but meaning till you get yourself together. A little pettiness doesn't.
Oh, you can be petty until you get yourself together or prove a point. That's what you do. She said yes. Did you hear that?
As long as it doesn't linger. We're talking about it lingering, going into
little.
days.
You can be little petty, not big petty. Little petty.
Little petty.
Right. That doesn't work.
I'll explain. I'll explain what that means for me.
Please.
That means if we got into it, I'm still not feeling you. You're not feeling me, whatever. I'm still going to prepare your dinner because that's what I love to do for my loved ones. But you may have to walk in the kitchen and get it yourself. I may say your dinner's ready. Slight pettiness. Slight. You're still going to.
Oh, right. So how about when they start giving you a slight pettiness back?
That's happening.
Because again, so what you're doing, that smoldering fire, you're putting oxygen to it, and it can blow up now. So that pettiness, that little pettiness, could lead to a bigger argument down the road, right? So I don't think. I mean, we do it. We're all human beings, but we should try not to do it. Let's not say no one's perfect, but we should, lean on the side of it's not okay to be petty. Right?
I agree.
It's not.
For the most part.
Petty for the most part. There we go. See that? Petty begets petty. Because sometimes the other person may, hit that petty ball right back to you.
They have.
And then right.
You start playing tennis.
Right, exactly. And then you're gonna hit it back to them. So
I'm a good tennis player though. I'm a good tennis player.
Right. Well, but then what are we winning? That's the goal. And that's what I think when we go into any argument, I was watching something, I can't remember. The goal, what is your goal? Is your goal to win? Is your goal to stop the argument? Is your goal to get back to what as close as normal as possible? You got to figure out what your goals are.
I agree.
And I know at one point my goal was to win that argument. Right. And I'm not my younger me, like I'm gonna win this argument. We're gonna win.
And if that's the goal, then a lot of times people will do whatever, include lying, making stuff up,
Right.
You do whatever if the goal is just to win.
Right. But mine was more, I wouldn't see your point of view. I would just keep hammering mine. So it wouldn't be that I went to lying or anything, but it would just be, I was just really listening for you to stop talking so I could reiterate what I've said 1,000 times already to try to sway you to my side when I didn't hear your side at all. I didn't even give it, I may have looked like I was listening, but I was waiting for your lips to stop moving so I could interject. Why whatever you just said that I didn't hear was wrong.
What helped you with that, Darrell? What helped you see the light in that, if you will?
People saying you're a know-it-all all the time, you know everything, you don't listen.
You petty.
Eventually you have to for me, it was like when you do that self-introspection, like, wow, everybody's saying this, they can't be wrong. I had to stop saying everybody was wrong. You know, I had to stop saying everybody, I can't believe that another person wrong. It's a different relationship, but the same results. I'm like, these people are all crazy. I picked the same person over and over again, the wrong person. I can't believe I picked a person so wrong. But after a while, you have to, you know, it was like, wait a minute. Like, damn, let me write it down. They said the same thing. They said this, like you were hearing the same thing. Like, it's just Groundhog's Day. It's a different person, but we're having the same conversation. So it can't be all of them. I mean, it might have been a lot of them, but it couldn't be everyone. So
that makes sense. That makes sense.
So you really have to, you really have to see, like, if you, and then, you know, when you start to listen, sometimes you can see you were wrong. Like, the good thing about not listening is that you know you're never wrong, right? If you start listening to them, you're like, you might be right. They might be right. So listening was very humbling because you're like, oh, I was way off.
Those life lessons. Life will
teach you.
Yes, it will. It will teach you.
And again, if you don't learn from it, you'll keep making the same mistake. So luckily, I was able to learn from it. You know.
Excellent.
So
okay.
I think what you said is important, Darrell.
Okay.
Wow.
See, that's me being right again. See, I'm back to being me.
That's a moment.
When you talk about what is your goal of the fight, you know, if it is to win, then you behave a certain way. If it is to, you know, to understand your partner, you behave another way.
Absolutely.
You know, and one of the things that we had talked about last week a little bit is changing how we think about conflict. Because if you think conflict is bad, then you kind of move towards that way. You're preparing for a fight or argument. But if you're thinking of conflict as a way to increase intimacy with your partner, or a way to better understand your partner, or, you know, as an opportunity to make your relationship healthier, then you act a certain way when you have a fight.
Right. No, I agree. I even take it to the point where I think you should start planning your fights. Like I said, when you're not in an argument, that's when you need to talk about how this is going to look, or you know how we're going to speak to each other.
I said that last week and you clowned me.
Yep, I remember it. Yep.
No,
Where's the sound effect?
You said plan for the fight, and I just mean you're right. So see, I'm listening now. I almost was about to say no, you're wrong. I listened.
Okay. All
right, we did talk about it last week, and now that I think about it, I agree. You should plan for how you guys are going to fight. You know, and it means not like just maybe not the specific fight, but just in general, how what do we want to get out of it? Or even before you get into that argument, when you start seeing yourself getting heated about something, ask yourself, is this going to be something where we're never going to talk again? Is this going to be something detrimental to the relationship? What is it? And if it isn't, all right, let's take a break and we'll revisit it when we're kind of cooler heads, because we're really getting too hyped up over something that may not be that serious. And maybe we need to get to the root of why the peanut butter top being left off is really getting us here. Right. Because it may be something else. And that's what we really got to do, uncover that little argument could be something else bigger that was festering that you don't want to talk about. Because sometimes we want to avoid the bigger issues, you know, the bigger arguments, and we'll just take it out on something else. The habitual peanut butter or jar leave it off her, you know. So we want to, it's not the peanut butter. Sometimes you want to really dive in and say, you know what, and this argument may be good, but let's really talk about what else is going on. What else is going on that may be, and that's a great conversation to have, you know, because you might be able to talk about something that is really going on and then get to the root of these problems. And that can stop the arguments, because again, as long as that argument is out there, you're arguing about little things, the peanut butter, the crunchy peanut butter with the top off.
And I think you even have to go as far as to discuss what your views of conflict are, like you're saying here, because they could differ. one might feel like, okay, it's going to increase our intimacy when we get through this problem and, work through our disagreement. And the other might just run away from that thinking that means we're not going to, like you're saying, Darrell, ever talk again, or they're really fearful. Because I know our dynamic was like that at one time where my mate wasn't used to conflict, so he avoided it. And I looked at it as, like you're saying, an opportunity to grow. To grow in intimacy, to understand each other better. So we had to really start discussing what are our views on conflict. Like, why do you feel that way about it?
Right.
Yeah.
It's so interesting that we're dating people or marrying people, and then we really don't know them. We don't know what their ideologies are with certain things. Like I said, and it seems weird to talk about, but like, what is your arguing style? Or what does arguing look like to you? Yeah. How did your parents argue? These are things you really should talk about, because this can kind of help you see where that person may or may not be coming from, right? Because sometimes people will emulate what they saw or go the exact opposite. Like, my parents argued all my life, so I'm never arguing, and they won't argue. But you'll understand why, and that may help you guys to come together to
You're so
you have to breach that gap somehow. There's going to be arguments in all relationships. You're going to argue everything because you're bringing two different things together and trying to make it work. So there's going to be disagreements and things of that nature, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You got to find a way to bridge that gap. And it has to be some type of communication, because you cannot ignore it, because that's going to blow up.
And do it when you're calm, like you said. Make sure that if you're having a calm, intimate time with conversation, that you bring up some of those things.
It's the time to bring those things up. Yeah.
Or even, like I told you, the big thing for me is when we do get in those heated things, I talk about it before. If I meet someone, like, look, I don't believe in yelling, cussing at each other, saying names. I put that at the beginning. So I'm like, if something happens, an argument, you can say it to me, say it. So if I get too loud, hey, you're talking too loud. And we should be able to calm down at that point, right? And if you can't, then someone has, look, I'm just going to walk away. Because I'm not going to sit there in that. So you should put some rules and parameters around what arguments look like, and then stick to them, right? Stick to whatever they are, because that'll help send your partner a message like, you know what, they're being serious, I'm gonna stick to it. Because if you can't stick to the rules, they're not. So you done wasted some time. So idle rules don't work. It just doesn't help.
Right. Very true.
Yeah, because and I agree with that. And one of the things that it does is also put some security in place. Because if you're having fights and every fight seems like the relationship is going to end because you don't know how to fight fairly, that brings a lot of stress to your partner. It brings a lot of stress to the relationship. So if you're able to, have a structure, it offers security.
That's true. And with the security, that safe place where you feel like this can happen and you won't avoid it so much. Yeah, I agree with that.
And I think even in saying the word fighting, it has such a negative connotation that people just think it. So fighting doesn't mean you have to be cussing each other out. Fighting could be a disagreement. It's just the way you look at fighting, right? It doesn't have to be this tumultuous thing. It could definitely be something like, we're having a fight, we're having a disagreement, we're having a debate, however you want to phrase it, right? Whatever you want to, however you want to phrase it, but it doesn't have to be negative. It doesn't have to be uber negative. You can have a disagreement, and that's fine. You want to go left, well, I'm going to go right. Okay, that could be a fight, right? So it doesn't have to be, rock'em, sock'em, robot. No, it just has to be something that you're disagreeing in. So we have to also, what does a fight mean to you? Ask that question, right? So that could be it could be very different to whomever you're dealing with.
True.
For sure. You can't hear me again?
Just came back.
Yep. Yeah, now you're back. You're back now.
I don't know what's happening.
He's taking a little swim today.
That's so weird. That is so weird.
That's what we said.
So when we talk about rules, do you write them down? Do you just kind of have them in your head? Do you just bring them, you
just
throw them out there here and there?
Well, I think it's kind of on par with what we've been saying. You have to find out what works for your relationship. You have to build a culture in your relationship, and you have to find out what works for you. Right. Sometimes you can't base it off of what worked with your mom and dad or your friends. you can use those things as references, but talk to your partner. Because some people, like if I'm illiterate, I can't write. That writing ain't gonna work. I can't read what you wrote. I don't know what that is. So writing might not be the best course of action. You just have to find what works best for you guys. Whether it's writing, whether it's talking, whether it's leaving each other voice messages, whatever it is to convey your messages to each other. You have to find that out, right? And this is what the part of talking to your communication is very important. Talking to your partner, learning their communication style is very important as well. You have to learn all these things. Not just, you can learn the argument style, that's cool, but before they get to the argument, learn the communication style. Because maybe you wouldn't get to that debate if you guys knew how to talk to each other. Or even if we're talking like this, if I'm saying something that still could be offensive because their style is something different, just because you're talking low doesn't mean it's offensive either. Right. You got to understand what's offensive to them. Right. What's offensive, not what's offensive. Well, I ain't trying to offend you, but I'm saying you are. So you got to understand when I'm telling you something, this is how I feel. Okay. I'm not saying you are. I'm saying I feel like you're kind of being disrespectful right now. This is how I feel.
No, they said people will say no disrespect and then go right into disrespect.
Go right to disrespect.
Anytime there's a no disrespect disclaimer, it's always
you're about to be disrespected.
Right.
Very much so.
But I like that word style, Darrell, because the style does matter. And I think we should acknowledge that the styles can change too, because I know early on in my relationship, we had one style, and we even got that style from an expert helping us figure out the best way to state when you have a problem with the other one. And our style at that time was writing. It was actually, we had a binder, and you would write down your issue for that moment or that day, and you would put a little neon sticker in, and your partner knew, I need to check that out because we need to talk about something.
God,
I know. Binder. Yeah, we did that early on because we couldn't figure.
A lot of stuff going on over there. She said a binder.
So this was years and years ago. We were trying to figure out that style because we had different styles and approaches to conflict. We were raised differently with that.
Yeah, I would ignore the binder every time I see a little.
Well, see, then you pick it up and you get. You wouldn't ignore it then.
So if you don't see it, you'll feel it.
Right. But we both agreed in our therapy that we were going to use it. We agreed, and it really worked for a while, like you're saying, for a while.
Right. And right.
That is the thing. You have to agree.
You have to agree
on what these rules are.
Yeah.
You have to agree.
Right.
And the method you're going to use.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So you can't one partner
anymore.
One partner can't just make up some stuff.
No.
Right.
This is the rule.
Or change it in the middle of the game.
Right.
Well, see, but that's the question. And the rules can change, right? But you guys sit down and talk about the change. You can't just unilaterally have the change.
No, that's what I mean.
But you should sit down like, listen, hey, this isn't really working for me, or I thought I could do it, but as we're doing it, it's not looking like I thought it would. Let's try to rearrange our arrangement or figure out a different way to do it. So we have to be flexible too. And again, it's with communication. You should be able to come to your partner and say, hey, listen, I know I agreed. It's not really working. What can we do? Right? How can we, because it's not really working for me. And you should have reasons why. And this is for me. Like, I don't like general. Like, I just don't like doing it. Well, can you tell me why? Because that can give me more insight on maybe what we can do. Because if you're just saying I don't like doing something and you don't have any reason, I can't gauge like how to fix that. Like, I don't like doing it. Okay, I don't know how to help you. You know what I mean? I don't know what to suggest what we should do because I don't know why this is not really working. So again, I think that anything and it's for me and everybody's not that, but should be thoughtful. Like, should you have thought behind whatever we're saying? Like, well, it's because of this, or even if we talk it out in the moment. Well, I don't really know why. Well, why do you think? Do you think it's because? Oh, maybe that's fine too. But just I don't know, and that don't really work for me well. Just saying, it's not going to be a constructive argument.
And I think that too, if you're saying you don't want to do something just because you just don't want to do it, then what do you want to do? What's the alternative?
Right.
So I think that it's helpful to come to the conversation with that. If you're coming with, I don't want to do something or it's not working for me, then try to come with, what would work for you.
Right. And again, this is what you should talk to your partner about, because everybody doesn't need you to come solution based. They may just need to know that you don't want to do it and we can figure something out. That may work for some people. And I have to understand that as myself. Right. It may work for some people. It doesn't really work for me, and it would be fire.
I said it would be helpful. It would be helpful.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So it's very interesting, and and again, all these things, all these things may not work for an individual person, but you got to find what works for you. And that's the thing. You don't try to emulate what everybody else does, because then sometimes that's not helpful to you. And it's okay to start in places because maybe you don't have an idea of what it could be. You're like, well, Doc said X, Y, and Z on the show, so I'm gonna try this. And you try that, right? And then you can use that and change it and fix it for you to make it, perfect for you. And that's what you want to do. You want to find something that is perfect for your relationship, right? Your relationship is its own entity and should model itself. Right? Your culture, your relationship should be whatever you want it to be. And you really shouldn't follow in other people's footsteps. Even if it's working for them, that's fine. You can try that, but then if it doesn't really fit you, well, don't wear things that don't fit.
Right.
What are your thoughts on general things that are unhealthy? And what I mean by that is, do you think that there are some things that just are unhealthy that people just shouldn't be doing? Even though it's their culture and they've decided that is the culture of their relationship.
Well, I mean, we always can talk about somebody else and what they're not doing right. You know what I mean? I can always look at somebody else's relationship, but again, I think that,
But I'm talking about the general thing. Are there things that are generally unhealthy for a relationship?
Meaning,
well,
in their interaction,
culturally, you said, I don't know. Culturally, if something is cool in that culture, I mean, who am I to say that their culture is wrong because they like, doing certain things?
What about physical abuse? What do you think about
again, that? Culturally, some places it's cool.
There's no place for that. There's no place for that.
See, again, that's definitely a first world answer. There's some places.
And I think that other cultures are kind of coming around to that, just from what I've been seeing.
Yeah,
gotcha.
They're coming around to that.
There's no place for that.
Physically abusing your mate is probably not the best way to go.
Sorry, Darrell. There's just no place for that.
Yes, we definitely see, but I don't know.
I know.
Right. It's not, disclaimer, it's not okay. I don't think it's okay.
Yes, I know.
But who are we to go tell another culture how to live or whatever the case may be?
But it's not okay.
And the other problem is a lot of times they will base it off of like a religion or something like that as well. Right. So they'll have a strong stance on why and even explain to you, well, it says right here, John 3:15 said uppercuts and wheel kicks are okay at this. So sometimes people have a reason. So, I mean, we can say it's wrong, but again, what they feel was wrong because their culture, if it's culturally accepted wherever they're at, we're really saying what? We're like, oh, you shouldn't accept that. And they're like, why shouldn't we? This is what it is. Unless we can remove them from that culture, right? And protect them, I mean, they're going to fall victim to their culture. Again, not that it's right, but I mean, we see that a lot with even ways of disciplining and things of that nature, where culturally you can do certain things, and it's like, this is what we do.
True.
Kneeling on the rice or something like that. It's something they do, and certain cultures do, and they don't see anything wrong with it. Now, us looking at it like that's crazy. You can't do that. Or even spankings alone. Like we talk about that type of discipline. It's I wouldn't do it, and I think it's terrible. Some people do it, and they. So it's very difficult to sometimes put our beliefs onto other people.
I was asking about that because I see people from all kinds of cultures.
Yes.
And those are the questions I have to ask because if they're telling me they want their relationship to be a certain way, or, I'm asking, like, what does that mean in your culture?
Okay.
Right.
Because some people, like some, I won't be specific, but some cultures that come to me for therapy are saying they want to do things that, once we start talking about it, is really outside of their culture. Or goes against their culture.
Gotcha.
But because they are here now, they're trying to make these changes and not really understanding why it's so difficult for them to do.
Okay.
Because you're still, especially if you're living in a household of that culture, you're still immersed in it, and you're still expected to behave the way of the culture.
Okay.
Right. So how do you navigate that, right? Because if they're coming to you,
that's gotta be hard.
Yeah, they're coming to you for something, and you're like, well, this is really, from what I see and what I'm reading in this DSM-5, this is not okay.
Yes.
But you're telling them it's not okay. But
we talk about it.
Okay.
We talk about it because just someone I was speaking to earlier this week was like, is what you're asking for realistic?
Okay. Yep. That's the question.
If you don't move out of that house, is it realistic?
Okay.
Or like Darrell was saying, leave that culture. Yes, it's just not going to happen under that cultural umbrella.
Well, think about it. Like, I think I don't know what I was talking about, but I think in Utah, it's a lot of Mormons and polygamy, so you can have multiple wives. So if you're down there, someone like this is normal for them to do. Like, can we say it's wrong? Like, we can say we don't agree, but I mean, this is what they do, and I think it's based off of religion, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong.
I think so.
That's what I think. I don't want any hate mail saying,
right,
you got us wrong. I don't know. That's what I think.
I think as well.
Right. But something like that, like when you're in that, say if you're messing with a man, or I don't know if it works both ways, but and then he's like, look, I definitely want another wife. That's how they move. And can I say, if she accepts it, can I say it's wrong? I can say I don't agree with it, but I can't tell her, well, you need to leave that relationship because he shouldn't have two wives. That's very interesting. And that's
so we talk about what it is they want versus the expectation and what is real for that culture.
That's very interesting.
So it's really about them becoming, I don't want to say enlightened, but really about them doing some more introspection and figuring out why they want to make these changes and what it means for them and their broader culture, family, whatever.
Well, it seems like they're already kind of, changing. They're already contemplating change because they're there and they're like, hey, listen, I can't take this, whatever is going on here. I can't take, being home and cooking and cleaning or whatever and not being able to leave the house. That's not what I want for my life. I want something different. So it looks like they're looking for really someone to say it's okay to leave. Run, girl, run.
Now, right?
Not only do I not want hate mail, but I don't want anybody showing up. What did you tell my family member to do?
Exactly. You told her to leave. Right. I can see that. And I think that has to be really tough. Just think about that discussion.
Hey, Yolanda. Thanks for joining us.
So, it's still illegal, but they still do it.
Yeah.
So they make their own culture, even though it may not be on the books, right? They may not marry everybody on the books, but they're still calling this person their wife, right? So I don't know if someone died legally, who gets what, because I guess you can't marry them all, but it's still, they're doing it, right? So they're still making a culture for themselves. Because I mean, I've seen sister wives, and it's not just one relationship, there's a whole bunch of them.
Yep.
So these things are happening, and not just in the Mormon. I think even Dr. Umar Johnson got two wives. I think he said.
Wow.
And I don't know what his belief is or how that works, but he has two. And I think he said he can't have any more. They said he can't bring another one. He wanted another one. And he said no. So that was it. I don't know what that discussion was like.
It is real.
From what you know, can the wives say no? Can they say that they don't want another person in the marriage?
So from what he said, I know another woman was saying she wanted it. He's like, I talked it over with my two wives, and they're like, no, we don't want it anymore. So I think the women do have some say in if you can get another one or not. So wow. I think it's one. I think you have to be able to provide for all of them, and then they have to okay if a new one comes in. And that's not across the board. I heard some people say that in certain things. I don't know what the Mormon thing is. I don't know how they get down. I just know they have more than one. Some of them. So it's okay. It's not looked at as weird when he has 4 wives. It's not like when they walk into the supermarket, they're not looking at it like, oh, look at it. No, they're like, this is regular, you know? Now, if we saw it, we'd be like, whoa, that's crazy. That's different. That's different.
Yeah, it's a cultural piece for sure.
Right. And that's very interesting.
So maybe for that reason, you have to be very careful about whom you are in a relationship with. I mean, you really have to make a decision. Is this going to work across the board culturally? Should I be in this relationship? Period.
Right. Because I mean, I wonder what that discussion is if you're outside of that and they're like, hey, look, I want to have another one.
Yeah.
I mean, how does that? I mean, I guess
I don't know.
Grooming. Well, I know it's off topic a little bit. Speaking of grooming,
right?
Did you? I can't remember. It was a white woman who was a police officer that was having sex with everybody at the police station. All the cops. Did you guys?
I remember that. That's funny.
It just happened like within the last couple months.
So what happened?
How did?
Well, she got. It came out. You know, she was. It was like she was a white woman. I think it was like 7 black and brown men that she was having sex with on the force.
Wow.
Yeah, and she was married.
Oh.
It was a big thing. It came out. They found out that she
gotta have it.
Listen.
Her face was like, ooh.
It was wearing her out, boy. It was wearing her out. Anyway, so she got fired. So I seen today. She wasn't wearing them out. Not all that.
Wait a minute, they can fire you. They can fire you for having sex with people on the job.
It was on duty. It was in the break rooms. It was crazy. It was a debacle.
Ooh, somebody was asked to be.
So my second wife twice. What is it about you that people want you to be their second wife? No, serious question. What does she think it is that people are able? Because how do you approach somebody with that? First of all, right? How do you approach somebody like, I got one. I'm trying to add you to the mix. You know, most of us lie about a side joint and don't wipe them up. But these people are trying to say, we want a full relationship with you. And they're talking to you like this is what they want. It's not even, you know, they're serious. Like, hey, look, I have a wife. I want you to be a wife too. What is that? How does that happen? And then how do you feel about it? Do you feel like, why are you disrespecting me? Or do you feel like what do you feel with that? I know there's a lot of questions. This type of way. We'll get to it. Anyway, the white woman now is coming out because everybody got fired and things of that nature. She said that she was groomed. She was groomed in the department.
Groomed in what way?
In the way
she was groomed to
for everybody to take her down. Yeah.
Pass around, John.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
wow.
So she had no responsibility in that, huh? She was just groomed.
And so now we can't, and it's tough now because now she becomes a victim. Right? And you can't really now shame a victim if she's saying like they kind of, you know, led her astray. Her higher ups kind of let this happen and let all these black and brown men jump up on her like a trampoline every day.
Wow. That's interesting.
It's very interesting. But I want, so that's she's suing or something like that, and that's her.
Oh my.
She's coming back with, you know, hey, I was groomed. I didn't really do this. I was kind of.
So again, she's not taking any responsibility for her part in this.
Not a bit. And the other issue is since they're all black and brown men, I wonder how this is going to play out. Are these tears, these white tears, going to be enough to now say, you know what, this innocent, our innocent flower was led astray by these, by these men. And
wow.
So it's just very interesting. I wish you guys knew about it.
I'm going
to look it up as soon as we get off here.
Too. Yeah, we will know about it. We'll have some feedback soon.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Because it's insane that
is insane
that you can now try to absolve yourself any responsibility, saying that you were kind of groomed into,
and then be compensated by way of suing.
Right.
So it's very interesting.
Behavior. That's interesting for sure.
I mean, that opens the door for a lot of mess in situations where people are doing stuff like, I mean, I just saw an article about the teacher who was sleeping with the students.
That I did.
I mean, now that would be, if they open this door, that could be claims for many people. That I was groomed this way by such and such a person, so I'm not responsible for my behavior.
Right.
Wow. Oh, no, she said they're claiming they want something they aren't getting at home.
There's something that they aren't getting at home. So
interesting.
What she say?
Do they ever?
She said she thinks it's hilarious.
Thank you. You should say thank you, Boo Boo. Right. You're so nice.
Considering
you and your wife. That's very interesting. It's such a kind person. Thinking of you. So
thank you for answering, Yolanda.
Right. And one more question: was it ever a time that they brought the woman into it, or was it just them lying to you? To try to get something or whatever, something out of it, or did they ever have the woman and you guys all sit down and say, hey, what it would look like, or whatever the case may be?
Wow,
that's insane.
That is bold too.
Oh yeah, but they'll try it.
But anyway, back to fighting.
Back to fighting. We were talking about. So we let's talk about some examples of this spiteful behavior. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the obvious one is you're sleeping on the couch tonight. You're not getting any.
Right.
That's an obvious one.
Right.
And even though people think it's funny because they show it on TV, in the movies, it's funny, but it can be very damaging.
Yep.
Oh, yep. Very, very damaging. Because if I go to the couch, front door right there. I'm just saying.
And we know where you go.
Front door is right there.
It took a while to make her appearance tonight, Doc.
You pushed me out the front door. That's all I'm saying. I wasn't going out. You pushed me out. I think anything that you stop doing because of an argument is the problem. Anytime you say I'm not going to do what I normally do, there becomes a problem when the norms of the house are broken up.
I agree.
Because of an argument. That's a problem.
That is a problem.
And I think that's something we have to talk about too, because when you have that disagreement, that argument, it shouldn't make you want to now try to get back at that person through other means.
Wow.
Oh, they went all the way in. Very interesting.
They really wanted it.
They did.
Interesting.
I wasn't right. I was saying stop there. Stop. But,
but yes, when you stop doing things that that you normally do, you are running the risk of messing up the security in a relationship.
Absolutely.
And the cooking's another one. The sex is one. The cooking's another. What are some other examples I can think of?
Well, it could be anything. Like, say if I would, we would have lunch every Wednesday, and now you're like, I ain't coming to lunch.
True.
Or we do food shopping together, and now you don't want to go.
That's
or I ain't going to your mom's party this weekend or tomorrow. Could we argue tonight? Those type of things become, it makes a bigger issue, like you said, because now I'm not secure. Because I know if we argue, you may not do something. So if we have a trip coming up, I'm like, I gotta be on walk on egg cartons because I don't want to make you mad so you don't go on the trip. So now I'm stressing about the trip and you not going because I don't want to argue and I'm trying to be perfect and you're not trying to do anything or argue about anything because you don't want anything to happen. That's a lot of stress. Now your anxiety, your blood pressure through the roof because you're trying not to argue about stuff. You're trying to tiptoe around things. See, that could become a problem, all because the last time we argued, I ain't going to your mom's house, or I'm not going to the party with you. I'm not going wherever it's with you. So now you made that person a little gun shy with arguments around trips.
And you start leaving other stuff in the air. Like you said, you don't want to talk about the peanut butter because that is going to be, your partner's chance to say, I'm not going on this trip.
That could be the whole catalyst for the trip not happening. Or even so, and I've been here where you just don't want to plan to do anything because you can never make it there.
Yeah.
Right? After happened so many times, like I ain't playing nothing because we ain't gonna make it there anyway. I don't waste money on these tickets again. We didn't go here again. So you just stop planning this stuff. So then now your life becomes humdrum because you're not doing anything because you don't feel like you're gonna make it to that thing anyway. So you don't do anything.
Right. Isn't it just as spiteful to go on the trip and then be a real, Debbie Downer during the trip? I mean, that's even worse. I've spent my money.
Yes.
And now you don't want to hang out and have a good time here. Same difference.
Been there too. Never been to dinner when nobody talking to nobody? You all dressed up?
I'll still go. Yep. Pass the steak, please. Pass. Yes.
They only talk their point.
So that's even more spiteful, I think. On some
yes. Where you try to continue to go through that thing and it's just cold. It's just cold. You just eating cold. You should have been by yourself.
Or they do go to your mother's house and they sitting in the corner soaking.
Right.
Everybody like, well, what's wrong with so and so?
Right. Again,
everybody got to know we had a fight.
I would rather you go than not go. I will say that. I'd rather you go and not say anything because at least we're together, right?
Wow.
At least we have some respect for each other. Like we're going to kind of at least show up. I ain't gonna talk to you, but we may get to the point where we can go out and talk. So that's a good step. But staying home and start doing stuff by yourself, that leads to you being comfortable. Like, I don't really need you to go out with me. And not even if you're not even doing anything, you just being comfortable of doing things without your partner now you never do anything together. I'm cool with you not being here because you don't want to go, don't go then. I ain't gonna beg you to go. I'm gonna go have fun myself.
Very true.
So it just leads more division in a relationship, and your relationship should be tight. That should be your person. You should, when you go out, you should think about going out with your person, not all the time, but you should want to go out with them sometime. If you're not cool going out with them at all, that's the problem, ain't it?
Yeah.
See you when I get back. I'm going out with Craig and them. See you when I see you.
You really don't want your partner to feel like they can't count on you just because we're in an argument.
Absolutely.
True.
Yes. We should still take care of each other, even if we're upset.
Right. And again, I say it all the time. I don't really need you when things are good. I need you when things are bad.
Yep.
Things are bad and you don't like me, I don't like you, or whatever the case may be. Something happens, I need you to be able to jump right up and you got me. I don't need to be like worried about, well, what you mean your tire broke? You ain't got another one? No, listen. hey.
All time round.
Right. I'm doing my hair. I'll be there in 5 hours. Hey, it's cold. Like, but that's when I need you to be able.
Right. You are so
I need you to be able to shed that argument and get back to us at that point. I don't care how mad we were, upset we were. Something happens. Let's move. Right. I'm done.
I can count on.
I'm here. Right.
Yeah. I remember. Go ahead, Darrell.
No, I was about to say, and I think that's really, really big for me, learning, like, what's this argument really about? What's the energy we're really putting into this argument? Is it something that we should be like this with? And if we're getting to this point, why are we getting to the point where we're really shutting each other out? We're really not being there for each other. What is really going on at that point? Because then
a lot of unresolved things. I'm thinking a lot of resentment, unresolved things. So it's not really about peanut butter at that point. It's about the few other things we didn't really hash out and get to. But that accountability and being there for your partner and knowing they've got your back, front, side. I'll never forget when my husband had fired somebody and they got very violent and they were escorting them off the premises. It was a woman, actually. And he was calling me after the fact and he was like, did not end well. I was like, I'll be right there, babe. I'll be right there to pick you up. I'll be right there. I can't fight. Granted, I can't fight. But I'm coming. But yeah, just him knowing that I was there if he needed me to pick him up early, that I can count on you matters so much, no matter what we had gone through that day, no matter what.
Absolutely. And that's what we have to learn about arguments. They're a moment. And depending on what they are, there may be some arguments where a person may need some time, right, to get over something, depending on what it was. If you cheated, I don't think she's going to bounce right back. She may need some time. I was calling she might need some time.
Sounded like you knew what you were talking about there.
I watch enough TV to see it doesn't really work out well. Okay, so black men don't cheat. So anyway, I
side Johns are not cheating, folks. Disclaimer: side Johns are not cheating.
Doc face.
Side Johns it is not cheating. Not cheating.
Oh man, no. Hey, look, just try to.
Took him off his game with that.
It's just terrible. I don't know where these comments are coming from. Side Jones, not good.
We're gonna let that one go. We're gonna let it go.
No, but we really have to try to be there for each other and understand the argument. Usually it shouldn't be the end of things. It's definitely a discussion about something you guys want to fix. That's usually the argument about something that's going on that we want to try to fix, and we're trying to come to some resolution. And again, it may not be all your way, it may not be all their way, but we need to find some way to get through it. So it doesn't have to be so terrible where we're not talking to each other and treating each other bad and being spiteful. Like I said, that usually is something else. So if you're having those arguments that are really negative and really you're calling each other names stuff, well, let's find out where that comes from. Does it come from what we saw growing up or what we think arguments should look like, or is there something going on in the relationship? But if you're having them, there's something going on that needs to be fixed. It's not the immediate argument. There's something there.
Agreed.
And that's what I was talking about when I asked that question about general, because there are some folks who think that cursing each other out is okay.
Right,
and they get over it very easily because they think it's okay. All the FUs and the B's and the MFs that you call each other during the argument, you're like, that's normal. That's all right.
Right. Yeah. See, when you call me B's and as a man, I don't really get over it right away. I'm like, you want some ice cream? Hey, no, you just called me a B ass, nut ass nigga. Like we don't just get over that. Like I ain't no nut ass. That that hurts.
Not the chest pound.
That hurts. So we definitely have to watch.
Yeah, I mean, but you're right. You're if this is what you saw, and this is how you and your partner been doing it, you might think that's okay. But you get
absolutely.
If you get another partner that's not okay with, then you have a problem.
Maybe.
I was talking to someone who I shouldn't laugh just in case they watch.
Ashley's laughing.
Ashley's laughing.
Oh, I shouldn't laugh at their pain. I should not be laughing at their pain.
oh gosh. But the partner called the other partner
good, Doc.
God. An illiterate asshole.
That's pretty bad.
I'm like,
pretty bad.
Why would you say that? Why would you say that to someone you say you love? We was fighting. And that's just one of the names, that keeps coming up. So we have to talk.
Well, I was going to say, is
that's really a low blow if he is illiterate. That is really bad. Like that's not like
that's doubly bad. That's real.
That's you're really trying to hurt me for real.
Yes.
To my core. You're trying to hurt me to my core.
That's the point.
Yeah.
When the person is upset, they are trying to hurt the other person to the core. That's the problem.
Tell them spell it out for them. Say you are and spell it out.
Forgive him, please.
What am I? What that spell?
Darrell.
Great. I mean, there's no place in a healthy relationship for being mean to each other.
No.
Not that mean. That's very
below
mean.
the belt.
Yeah. That's below the belt, right?
Reaching in their chest and pulling out their heart kind of stuff.
Right.
And then you're supposed to be okay the next day.
No.
Right.
It chips away at them. Didn't we talk about it puts holes in you? It chips away little by little your esteem, your worthiness. It's just not okay.
Well, remember, I think that usually comes from something I told you that I trusted to tell you. So if I'm telling you
that's the point.
This
that
in
is
a way,
the point. I trusted you with that. Yes.
Right. In a vulnerable moment, I'm like, hey. Right. So that makes it really bad. Because now I can't tell you anything because now you turn that on me and you hurt me with the things that hurt me the most. I may have been telling you I had trouble reading. I can't really read. And when you say that, that's terrible.
Yeah.
You killed me. And you don't do that to someone you're close to.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That is it.
I trusted you with that information.
And look
when
what
I told you about my diagnosis and the trouble I had and how traumatic it was for me as a kid. And now every time we fight, you want to throw this out there.
Re-traumatize me. You want to want to really hurt me.
Every time.
And like you said, it's funny because fighting to the other person may be, we say these things to each other. It's not, I don't really mean that. It's just words. I said it when I was angry. That's what people say all the time. I was mad when I said it. That does not take the sting out of it.
No.
Right. So I believe too, that first fight you have with a person, even the little ones, are very important. How you respond to those fights are going to dictate what they look like going on. Right. So when you're having those disagreements in the beginning, if there's something you don't like about the way the person is disagreeing with you, you need to say something.
Yes.
Because again, nobody is mind readers, right? We're only doing what we know, right?
And we're only doing disclaimer, it wasn't a client, so I don't want nobody to get up in arms and sending me no DMs and all that. It was a personal interaction.
Okay,
the
good.
person told me this, and it wasn't a professional
thing. Yep.
Yeah, we don't want any hate mail.
No.
Okay.
No.
Please don't.
Which brings me to think about so fighting with respect. Can we say that that needs to be one of the rules, that if that's possible, it needs to be a respectful fight.
Facebook user, let us know who you are.
I think I would say even outside of that, respect should be paramount in your relationship.
It should
all the way through.
Always,
right?
I agree.
So everything in your relationship should be respect, right?
I agree.
And so the fighting should be no different, right? We shouldn't have to say, well, we need to fight respect. No, I need to respect you at all times, right? And
I totally agree with that.
Right, and that'll help me respect you in those moments when things get heated. Like I don't believe in I'm calling you bees and you this, that, or the next, and then I care about you the next day.
Yeah, that's
right?
not.
I mean, like I said, like Doc, I love the thing. You're putting holes in them each time. You're just putting holes in them, and that person at a certain point, those words can affect them. They can believe that you feel that way about them.
So I agree. The respect should be across the board.
Yes.
Across
at
the
all
board.
times in your relationship.
I thought of that because a lot of relationships to me don't show respect, so to speak.
Well, Ruth, I think it's, again, what is respect? You have to ask that question. Because like I said, we kind of talked about if we learned, if I seen my dad or my mom disrespect my dad or vice versa, that's respect to us. You know, if we see people right now throwing drinks on each other on these shows and cussing them out, that's my bitch, all that type of stuff, then that becomes respect.
Yeah.
So sometimes what we're seeing is that people are just emulating what they feel a relationship is. And, you know, we definitely can look at it like, this is not respectful, but some people don't know that. They don't know that
true.
they need to be treated better, or you should treat your person better, you know, or you should treat them with what we deem to be respect. You know, respect is different.
That's true.
That's the problem. It's very different.
Yes, and it is a conversation. You know,
absolutely.
Respect means you never call me a bitch. That's
right.
Never. Right. I don't care how mad you are.
Right.
Never.
Right.
Right.
That's one of the rules. That's one of the respect rules. Yeah.
But you have to stay. Some people that this is my bitch, and they're like, yeah, I'm his bitch. Again. See, again, it depends where you're at. You know what I mean? Because no, this is my bitch. That's like that's my nigga. These are respectful things. You know, sometimes we refer to, like I said, sometimes you see girls like, yeah, that's my bitch. We the bitches. Bitch.
right. You know what? I'm not even going to front. There was a time when I was a teenager where we thought that was cool. What's up, bitch?
Absolutely. Right. And over time, that becomes almost normal.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. It's like the word we call it just my nigga. That's normal now.
That's
right?
true.
It just for me anyway, as a dude, I'm like, what's up, my nigga? Like it just come out.
That's true.
Flawlessly. Like it just rolls off the tongue. You don't even know you said it. It came out so, like butter. My nigga. Like it is what it is. My neck. These are my niggas. My niggas. Like it is what it is. You feel me? So
and it's a term of endearment. I get it.
It's very respectful. Yep. It's very respectful in certain places. If I come up to, hey, what's up, my nigga? Like, I would feel weird if I was like, what's up, my nigga? Like, don't call me that. Like, what you mean?
Right.
What you mean don't call you that? You my nigga. Like, it would be so odd for me to hear someone to oppose me saying that because we're so used to saying it. So where I'm at.
But that's an understanding in that circle.
In my lexicon is cool. You know what I mean? Even the word, sometimes I notice here we talk to each other, especially as men, a little different. Like, what's up? Hey, stop acting like a bitch. You being a bitch. Like, we talk to each other like that. But I was in Virginia one time, like, nigga, y'all being bitches. And the nigga got really mad, like, don't call me no bitch. Like, what? I don't mean it like that. Like, I didn't realize it. He was kind of upset about it. Like, because they don't talk to each other like that there. So definitely where you're at, the culture of the area you're in, you have to know. Because language definitely means different things. Like, to him, that was offensive. Like, those were fighting words. You feel me? For me, I'm like, we just joke like that. You feel me? There was no disrespect really behind it.
Right.
But now you acting like a bitch. So now that's what happens. So I'm just saying that's kind of where I go with it because he was in his feelings like a bitch. So now I mean it the way you took it now.
So it does depend on the culture and the circle for sure.
Right. So, but like Doc said, you have to, the first time someone does something. So if you I'm with a girl and I'm like, oh, this is my bitch, she needs to address that. If she doesn't, because to me it's okay. If you don't say anything, then you're saying it's okay as well.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And maybe you don't, even if you don't say it in that moment, we get home, hey, when you call me a bitch tonight, all night, I didn't really like it.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, bitch, you didn't like it? I didn't know. I can't call this bitch a bitch. Hey, man, I can't call this bitch a bitch.
On the couch. Now, you go in there on that couch.
That's right. Because when you set those boundaries, there have to be consequences attached.
Gotta be.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you have to be firm in them and keep them in place.
Right. And again, that's for you and them, right? If I have boundaries, it's for us.
That's
because this will keep us from having issues.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Because I don't necessarily like this. You're doing it. You have to stop because this is a real problem to me. And if someone comes to you and have a problem, you have to kind of try to listen and do your best at trying to help them, right? You can't be like, well, that's your problem. Well, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave with my problem. Me and my problem, I'm gonna leave.
I'm gonna take my problem somewhere else, bitch.
Yeah, right. Right. You have to find, again, you got to find a median ground sometimes to make a relationship. Relationships are tough, right? They're really a lot of work. And people don't understand that. People just want to be in relationships and, I want to be in a relationship. But you know what it is to be in a relationship? It's a lot of work.
And revamping and retweaking it.
Right.
And communicating till you're blue in the face. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why.
Which is why being able to resolve conflict is so important.
Absolutely.
It's so important. Because if you're not able to do it, it just leads to so many different bad paths for the relationship. Like you never talk about issues, or you're talking about them so much, or you're talking about them and they're never getting resolved. So they just continue to get bigger and bigger anyway.
Yes. Yes.
So conflict resolution is just so important in a relationship.
It's so interesting when you think about it. If you have better conflict resolution, you will have less conflict.
Yes.
Right? Because you really usually are arguing about the same thing if you're not
over and over.
True.
You're having the same argument from different points of view or different ways, or like I said, or other things are setting you off, and then you go back to that argument. It started with the peanut butter, but remember I told you about the way you call me a bitch? I'm tired of you. If you guys really addressed it, took time to really address it, you would minimize some of these problems going forward. Right?
Totally.
If you fix something, you can kind of move forward.
And so that we're talking about, having resolutions. Because a lot of times we just talk about stuff and then just drop it because you're tired of talking about it.
Right. Or someone walks away.
There's been no resolution.
Or the person's looking like they're listening and not really listening and tuning you out and not hearing anything you're saying.
I always ask people, when they tell me about a fight they had, so what was the end result? What did you guys come up with? Okay, what you mean? What you mean? We stopped talking about it. We talked about it. But what's the resolution?
Right.
And we learned the skill.
I think that talking about it is the resolution.
Right. Absolutely. Right. And again, hats off because you made it to stage one. Okay, you're talking, but what's going to come out of that? It does have to get to a point where you guys are not just talking, bringing up the past, bringing up the past, talking, past. What happened? You have to get to a point where you say, okay, look, I understand how we got here. What are we going to do going forward?
And we learned to paraphrase to make sure you're understanding what the person's saying to you in that talking. You might not really be understanding it. And
I think that's very important because I used to feel dumb when you asked me the question, like, well, tell me what I just said. Hey, keep talking. I ain't going to repeat what you did. I heard what you said. But
it's the skill. It is.
You do need to actually ask what they heard. Because what they heard could be different than what you said or what you intended to say.
Yes.
Sometimes what we're trying to convey may not come across well. And sometimes people don't hear every word. They kind of hear what you're kind of saying and what direction and what they're thinking. So it's good sometimes to ask, what did I just, can you tell me what I just said, or did you hear it, or what was your understanding of what I said?
We use that a lot.
Because oftentimes people put their own spin on it too, because they're coming at it from their lens. So they might add a word here that changes the whole
context. Whole context.
Or what I'm big on now as I've grown is that, sometimes we're talking and we're having this debate, argument, fight, whatever you want to call it, and someone has 19 points they're discussing, right before I can start talking. I cannot remember the 19 points you said. So I usually, after we have 1 point, 1 or 2 points, hey, look, let's kind of hash that out because I'm going to lose everything else. Right? I can't remember the other 19 things you brought up. So we're going to argue about that again because I can't remember it. So I need you. I think for me, I need you to, have 1 or 2 points and let's talk that out You can't talk for 20 minutes about 19 different things and expect me to have any type of response that's going to make sense. Okay.
He sounds like somebody I live with.
Listen.
He's like, babe, that's too much. Please, one thing at a time.
Right.
Two. Yeah.
Please. Some people may be able to do it, but I know it doesn't work for me. Yeah. You can't tell me everything you have a problem with right now. I'm gonna need you to break it up. ABC.
He tells me it's because of his ADHD. I think it's because it's just too much at one time.
That's what I think. I think it's because of the hour you talked. this lecture I just had.
I'm trying to remember and get it out. I'm gonna get it out.
Right. And that's where, like I said, you got to find what works for you. Like for me, I say write something down or put something in your phone to remember. But we need to stop here and let's talk about this.
I agree.
So we can kind of like you did this, and then the other day you did it, and you did this, and I done forgot the this, and this. I only remember the last two things out of the 19. I don't know. So I need to break it up. And I'll be like, look, please, I hear you. Could you?
I wonder if that's a gender piece. That. I wonder if it's a gender piece where maybe women.
No, I think I used to do it as well.
Time or.
I think we all do it when we're talking. Okay. We want to put everything in as we're talking sometimes. So I know I would do it. So I'm not saying that all men. I know for me, I would communicate. I would overshare. I would tell everything that I had on my mind, and they'd be looking at me like, "Did you hear what I said?" Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What's your answer? Yeah. Wait a minute. We had a what? So. I've learned for myself.
Answer should have been blue. You talk about yes.
Right. Yeah.
Your answer is
I learned myself to, slow down and maybe put a point out there like, look, I feel what do you feel? Mm-hmm. And then when they start talking back the same thing, all right, look, I hear what you're saying, but you're going too far. Let's parking lot the rest of it. Let's talk about the first 7 things you said. We'll get to the other 19 later. So, because you do want to,
yes,
it is important.
You do want to actually hear what the person's saying and kind of respond to it, so maybe they can understand where you're coming from.
And you're acknowledging, I do want to get back to the other things. I think that's fair.
Not that I really want to get back to other things.
I know, but at least make it sound like you do.
No, I'm saying I don't want to get back to it another day, so I just want to try to maximize this argument as much as possible instead of having like 19 more arguments. Going to maximize this argument.
As long as you have a relationship, you're going to have something to discuss. You can best believe.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Definitely want to resolve as many things as possible.
Right. And what does resolution look like, Doc? Because again, sometimes you don't come to a concrete, if I want to go right and you want to go left and you continue to want to go right and I continue to go left, what could a resolution look like?
When I talk about win-wins, I'm talking about where there is a definitive end and you both get something out of it. So a win-win could look like this time we go right and then next time we'll go left. Or it could be we both come to the decision that right is better.
Okay.
Or we come to the decision that we're not going to go right or left this time because that's not going to work for us at this moment. So we're not going to do right or left right now. Right. So a win-win could be you get your way or your partner get their way or nobody gets their way or you come to a conclusion where you can both have your way. Because a lot of times people think that a win-win is I got my way. Or that we had to both agree at this time for this specific thing. Or, if we don't agree, then we haven't won. But that's not true. Sometimes a win-win is that neither one of you won and you agree that that's okay.
Right.
Okay. That makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, right, left, we just gonna go straight today.
Mm-hmm. Go straight. Okay.
Because you're right. Some people don't consider it a win unless they get their way. that's a win for
Things
them.
can look different for whatever for different situations. You know, so I think people have to change that concept of what it looks like to win when you're having a conflict. You know, because sometimes, you know, people say, well, we agree to disagree. I look at that as we've decided that neither one of us gets our way. And that's okay.
Right.
That's okay. We'll pick a new way that fits the both of us.
Right, right. Again, and try to figure it out in the beginning. Like, how are we going to decide these arguments that seem like, you know, we just can't really come to some type of conclusion? We got to find a way to it could be a coin toss, whatever it is. We have to find a way that works for both of you guys to say, instead of talking for 13 hours, or we may not have a resolution that we really can come to, find a way to make a decision.
And the reality is, if there are like really hard issues where you cannot come to a conclusion, there may be some instances where you're not compatible. Depending on what, you know, if you want to have kids and your partner don't want to have kids, and neither one of you are going to budge on that, neither one of you are going to be happy. Because if you have a kid, your partner's not going to be happy. If you don't have a kid, you're going to be unhappy. Right. Sometimes you have to take a look at the relationship and say, you know, make that hard decision of whether or not it's something you want to stay in.
And I remember you, Doc, you said these are the type of questions you need to ask in that beginning, that first couple of days of meeting a person, first couple of dates. Hey, do you want kids? You don't want kids. It's never too early, because, again, if you get to the point where you're on different ends, you can leave where there's no skin in the game in the beginning. Oh, you don't want kids? I want kids. You know, okay, cool. It's been nice. I don't have any loyalty to you at that point. I can leave. You don't want to wait 8-9 months to talk about kids, and now you have feelings for this person. Is a lot tougher to leave sometimes. That's when you start lying to yourself. Well, maybe I could be okay without kids, or maybe I could be okay with kids. And then when the kid comes, either you hate it or love it, and that becomes a problem. You know,
I agree. I think those are the big things. Those are the big things that are just not little disagreements to discuss. Like, where are you with this? You know, do you want kids or not? How many children do you want, if you want kids?
Well, I mean, we
have to really be on the same page about some things that are not negotiable. They're not negotiable for me.
It's funny. It's so crazy that we don't, in these relationships, a lot of times people don't talk about these serious things, but you want to do everything else. You guys are doing everything under the sun, but having the conversations that you need to have, you know,
about how your lives are going to really look.
Right.
I think that, you know, what I've seen is a lot of people, like you said, Darrell, will trick themselves. And, you know, oftentimes people think they could change other people's minds, or they think that they'll be okay with changing their mind.
No.
And
a lot of times you're not.
A lot of times you're not.
Most times you're not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially with something like that, you know, something big.
Those issues will keep coming up. They'll keep coming up.
Yeah.
5 years, 10 years. You know, I wanted kids. Now I'm 50. Why didn't you? You know, but I told you I didn't want kids when we was 35. Like, what's going on?
You didn't. Yeah, that's insane. Or where people want to live or move. Or
I was going to say where you're going to live.
Yeah, I think my friend was with a girl, and he had kids that lived here, but she wanted to move like to Virginia. She's like, well, in 2 years, I'm moving to Virginia. And it's like, well, what are you going to do? You know, he decided to leave his kids. So, I mean, hey, you know, it worked out for him. But that.
Yeah, see, those are the big ones. That's big.
Right.
Yeah.
But at least they had a discussion.
Religion.
Right.
How are we going to raise the kids? You know,
Oh, maybe. That's a big one too. Yeah, I know real big right now where they're talking about spanking versus non-spanking.
Yeah.
So I was having a conversation the other day where the one was person like, well, I got spanked. Look how I turned out. Another person like, well, I didn't get spanked. Look how I turned out. And it's kind of at an impasse. You know, what they're going to do. But now you have kids now. You know, so now you're having the discussion now because I think the daughter's like 2. And, you know, the terrible 2s. I want to beat them out of the terrible twos. I don't know how that works, but
right.
Now the discussion is coming up. They didn't really have it before.
See?
And one person like, you don't touch the kid, and one person like, well, they're being bad. It's up.
Yep.
What happened? So very interesting. I wonder how that's going to play out. But again, that's something they should discuss before you had a kid.
I agree with that. Wow.
And if we're talking about listening to your partner, listen and take things at face value, as opposed to going into yourself and saying, well, I can make them want kids, or I can make them change their religion. Once they come to my church, they're gonna love it. Or these kinds of things you say to yourself, because you want to change, you want to try to change all the things the person said that they're not going to do, or that they said they were going to do.
Or you try to argue them into submission, right? Sometimes we'll try to argue someone into submission, and they may actually say, okay, in the moment, to get you to
stop. To stop. You know yes.
I mean? Yeah, I do it. I have kids, but they continue to wear a condom or pull out. Well, next time.
These are the big ones.
Right. And again, it's funny because, again, if you have some of these discussions about some of the bigger things in life that you're looking for, that you want, and how you want things to be, that could end some of the arguments down the road. Right? You're really actually
prevent them. Yes.
Yeah, you're actually, these are preventative measures. When you're talking about things, because you know in the beginning where somebody is, and also be honest with yourself and say, I can't do that. You can walk away.
Right.
You say, I'm gonna walk away. I can't. I don't want to live in a mini house. I don't want to do that by the water or whatever the case may be.
Because if not, those big ones are going to come back. They're going to come back, and then you're so vested and invested in it, and then you're going to break it off, most likely, just for sanity's sake. Yeah.
Or you're going to be doing those spiteful things. Those, those kind, like, you're going to stop taking your birth control because you really want to have a kid, even though your partner doesn't want to have a kid. Or you're going to be sneaking your kid to church, even though you had that, you're going to be sneaking your kid to church on Sunday, even though you've had the discussion about letting your child pick their religion when they become of age. So you start doing these kinds of things that mess up the trust in the relationship, that lets your partner know that you don't respect them. All these things that actually hurts the relationship and keeps it from being healthy, and sometimes keeps it from being long-term.
Exactly.
Yep. Well, it was very interesting because even when you had those things where you had the one parent take, like, say, going to church, and then they say, well, don't tell mommy or don't tell daddy. So now you're also teaching them to lie to the parent. It's okay to lie.
That's true.
And then when you grow up, you have this ideology like, oh, it's okay to lie.
We did it to daddy
stuff from my partner. Right. My partner don't need to know everything I do, or whatever the case may be. We don't know how it would translate, but it won't be. It's already leading to a non-healthy relationship that this person is looking for because of what they saw. That makes it interesting too when you start to not where your lies are going on to the kid.
And it's funny. It makes me think. We had these discussions early on about how many kids do we want kids, and we even took it as far as to what age do I want to be when I have that last baby. And Drake made it by the skin of his teeth. I said 30 is it. I cannot snatch it back.
Right.
He really took it to the next level. Like, don't come at me at 35 saying let's have another kid.
Right.
Let's talk about it. I'm serious. We got it all the way down to those specifics.
And that's very interesting to know, especially from a relationship that is doing well, right? It's good to hear these
knock
things,
on wood.
Right.
Let me knock. But yeah, that had to happen early. That's what, like you were saying, Darrell, those things really had to be talked about early.
Right.
And held to them.
That's really important too. Like you got to stick to whatever it is. Or if there's going to be a change, you guys both talk about it.
Right.
And if there's going to be a change, this would again, you have to be respectful in that. So like, if you want to have kids now at 35, you're like, well, do you think we could? And you're like, no, you got to respect that. That's not even an argument. It's okay to pose the question, but respect the answer, right? You can't try to badger them into an answer now when you already knew what it was before.
We had already.
So there's nothing wrong with asking, right? It's nothing wrong with asking because you're like, hey, look, I'm kind of feeling like I would like another one, but I already told you that's not what's not in the stars for me or us because we kind of agreed to it.
Shops closed.
Right. And we have to accept that right there. That and you don't want to try to guilt your partner. Like, well, you're not listening to me. No, at that point, you already talked about it. You spoke about it. You knew what it was. You're trying to run an audible and they could say no. And if we're talking about fighting fair, at that point, you need to accept that.
Yeah.
That's healthy. The healthy thing would be to accept it. I did ask. You said no, and I need to accept it. And
that's
leave it
true.
alone.
That makes the difference. Acceptance,
right? Right. Because you should be able to ask your partner anything. And
I agree.
Again, since things change, like Ruth was saying, and Doctor, things may change throughout the time. So when the changes come up, you do want to talk about them.
I totally agree.
But again, go into it being healthy and saying if it's a no, that's okay, because I already said that if it's a yes, that's okay too. But whatever it is, it's not. It shouldn't be a long debate now. But you know what? I hear you, but we talked about this already.
We did discuss it fully.
Right.
Yep. Good points.
Yes. Very good. Okay. We're all quiet, so I think we have beat this topic to death. Yes.
Sound effects.
Oh, okay, guys. Any last words on fighting fair and making sure it's healthy in your relationship?
I go first. I think that what we want to do is minimize arguments as much as possible, and that means talk about things early or whenever they come up. Just talk about them right then. Let people know how you feel about them. And just learn your style. Like, what is your style? If your style is yelling and flipping tables, let someone know that so they can get away from you. Okay, let them know that so they can clear the room. Like, yeah, I stabbed my last 3 boyfriends. Hey, thanks for telling me. I'ma go.
And with that, creating that safe space, you have to create a safe space because these fights, or as we want to say, disagreements, will happen. And you want to have both partners feel safe enough to share and be honest in that sharing. Right. I learned from Darrell, they can change. They can come back and ask you a question without you saying, well, no. Yeah. But they can change, and you should be able to talk about those changes with your partner without being fearful. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's it. That's it.
And I would say, be conscious of your pettiness, of your petty behavior. If you're tempted to do something petty, think about it, because you could be messing up the trust in your relationship by being petty. So you want to think about how you are behaving after a fight. Right. Am I removing the security by not meeting my partner's needs just because we're in an argument right now? So that's what I got. All right, guys. If you have a topic you want us to cover, let one of us know. You can catch this on the replay. You can catch it on YouTube under Sip and Chat, Relationship Flow, Butterfly Love. You can catch it in the Facebook group Relationship Flow and on Dr. Carissa's page. Is it on your page, Darrell?
No, not yet.
Okay, not yet. Okay, all right.
Working on it.
Okay. Yeah. So if you'd like to be on the panel, let one of us know. And we are here every Friday night at 8 p.m. And we will catch you guys next week. Have a good night. Enjoy your weekend.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.